All right, greetings everyone. How y'all feeling today? I know everybody always say good, but I do hope you're feeling good and fantastic like you're describing. So first of all, I want to just say a sincere moment of gratitude. Give thanks that you chose to come out to this event, this discussion. With anything that we do, me personally, I'd like to acknowledge you chose to come out. You didn't have to do it, but it's something that sparks your interest to be here. So I do give thanks just for coming out to the event. So my name is Your Highness Tafari. I am the producer and host of SourceTalk Saturday. And for some people that may not know exactly what SourceTalk Saturday is, I want to get into it and get into a little briefly what the nature of the event and the discussion that's about to take place. So the name of this particular show is called Young Black Female Prey Part 2, the R. Kelly Factor. And of course, you're noticing the Part 2 means there was a Part 1. Like I said, those that are unfamiliar with the show, SourceTalk Saturday is a town hall meeting style, live open forum community discussion show that's set to deal with the issues that's proven to be detrimental to our community. The only way I personally know how to, and that's like by getting to the source of them. Seeing if you get to the source and the root of the issue and clearly identify that, we can really build points from that moment to reverse it and go towards the solutionary techniques from identifying the root and the source of the issue. The inspiration came off a show called Wide Awoke Wednesdays. It used to actually be produced by Motown Maurice, and it happened several years ago, roughly about 9-10 years ago. And it was something that the city had, the community had, that I used to love going to. And the reason why I loved it, it gave people a hub, a place where people can come and discuss serious nature issues together collectively, and also get a lot of these feelings out, a lot of these words out that we have in our head and may have in our heart, that we deal with people locally and amongst our own cliques, and come together and do it. So that's the inspiration behind the show. Right now, to this particular event, Part 2 of Young Black Female Prey. This is show number 28. We started out doing the show January 2015, and it happened periodically every month. Now, it ran until spring of 2017. So this is like the relaunch or the rebirth of the show. So one big difference, instead of doing it every particular month, we're going to do it bi-monthly, so that's every other month going forward. And the whole nature of the show, like I said, is to bring us together and get into different issues that, like I say, it's talked about personally a lot, but just not collectively out in the open. There's a lot of issues that's holding us all back that I've just discovered in my own particular life, because I know as a human being, we're all comprised of the same thoughts, the same feelings. They just manifest out in different particular ways based on our experiences. But, you know, love is love, respect is respect, compassion is compassion. These things happen every generation. So knowing that fact, knowing that we all are interconnected to a degree, we have to try to get to the root of these issues. So I see that we can start healing more collectively together instead of going through all this mental trauma, a lot of stress on the inside, a lot of personal issues, a lot of shame going on, and we just kind of keep this pent up, and it's just being passed on generation to generation. So I see that we don't really deal with these issues collectively out in the open, at least to the people that are concerned and to those that care. I always tell people it's your own prerogative. Some people may not be as interested in things like this, and that's perfectly fine, but it's for the people that care. I feel we have a greater responsibility to set the pace straight and try to let the people that don't care at least start to get interested and see the significance that it plays in their life, because a lot of times they just can't see the significance in their own life. So that's the whole essence of the event, Source Talk Saturday itself. This particular topic, Young Black Female Prey Part 2, is centered around young black girls as sexual prey to grown men. So this is an issue that we did a Part 1 on in summer of 2016, and it was just like one of those things, like I said, nobody talks about out in the open. Everybody kind of talks about stuff like this on the inside, and they don't really want to bring it up a lot of times, but issues like this that I found, especially particularly as a people, black people, is contributing to holding us back. because we're not dealing with the pain properly. We're not dealing with the shame properly. So we're not operating at an optimal level to begin with. So when you got already cutting yourself short with certain energies, it's going to be hard to link up with other people outside and build, because a lot of stuff holding us back, pinning us back in this internally. So the whole approach to this show is coming from a spiritual aspect, and that's not more like a religious talk. That just simply means the core on the inside. Life is an inside-out experience. That's how we live it. We don't live it outside in, we live it inside out. So we have to go to the core and address it more of a spiritual aspect, is more sourcefully thinking, because there are a lot of things that are said that are true, and I always say this, we know all these true things, we know what we should be doing, but it's not clicking what's happening. We're not getting nowhere as a whole unit together. So this particular show with young black girls as the sexual prey of men is destroying and ruining a lot of lives. There's a predator-prey relationship that's been developed with males and females, particularly from my experience growing up in this country. And we want to uncover the motivations behind as such and really get to the root of what's really going on, so we can identify it and we can start to really, like I say, implement techniques to reverse the process. So that's the nature of the event. Like I said, we're praying, particularly as far as a black male, like the things that we've done, and I'm going to get into some of the event, and the culpability we play in that predator-prey relationship goes back to how we were raised, and it's on the other side as well as far as with females. So that's the essence of the event. Once again, give thanks for coming out. You know, tell your people, like I said, if they're not here, to come on in. We're watching or we're streaming on Facebook Live as well. So if you're on your phone, tablet, whatever, you can give a shout out, tell people to tune in, SourceTalk Saturday page, and view it live. So give thanks once again for coming out. So I also want to acknowledge the Vegged Out Vegan Kitchen. It's an all-vegan food catering company that's based here in Tampa, Florida. I actually myself the co-owner, and also my sister Erica Cobb back there, the pastry chef, she's the co-owner. And we just produce cleaner eating foods. We want to try to bring clean food out so it can edify and nourish your body and your mind right, because these are some serious times. We got to have serious discussions. So we want to get your mind and your spirit and your body right. So we bring out clean things. So also to Andre Polite, our author over there, which has a mental health book, Tips, and also a children book, Star Seed. We definitely want to acknowledge him. He's the author here in the area. We're going to get into more of his role involving in the show as we go along. So feel free to check them out briefly as we move through. So definitely come on in. So, y'all still feeling all right? All right, all right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off the show here before we lead into the discussion with a brief snippet of the documentary Surviving R. Kelly. The reason why the R. Kelly title and name was put onto the show, because since the documentary came out earlier this year with Lifetime, it's been a real hot topic people have been talking about. I mean, personally, me going through different areas of the cities and different crowds, people are bringing it up, they're talking about it. So it's relative to the subject. And he represents a microcosm to something that's been going on for eons amongst us as people and just people in general. So we want to show a piece of the documentary because it's relevant to the discussion. And this particular part of the documentary is focusing on the devaluing of young black girls. Like the name of the segment is called Young Black Girls, like, do they matter? So we're going to show a brief piece of the documentary. So work with us, and we'll get vibing and moving along with the show. So give thanks. Okay. We're back. Thanks for your patience, first of all. Y'all got some good attitudes, some good vibes. That's what it's about. So I'm about good attitude, people. So give thanks for your good attitudes. Okay, SourceTalk Saturday, show number 28, Young Black Female Prey. We're about to get into the bulk of the event, which is the discussion. So I want to go over some brief rules in regard to the discussion before we start. Everyone is at liberty to freely speak and interject on the discussion anytime that they like. There's no time limit on the amount of times that you can. This is the microphone. We ask that you just actually come up and speak on the microphone right here. We're streaming the show live, so in regards to people being able to watch the show wherever they at, they can have a clear identity on who's speaking, and also in front of everyone. So this microphone here And we'll have our panelists right here. Now, there is a time limit on time that you can speak, because being involved with events like this in the past, talking about real topics, article topics, is passionate, and people can really interject and want to get their points out. And we do understand that, but we can't let it just go too much out of the way, because it can cut off opportunities from other people that may want to speak. So for that reason, we limit the time to 90 seconds, a minute and a half, for every person that would like to speak to come into the microphone in the crowd. I'll be keeping the time, and when 90 seconds hit, if you haven't concluded speaking, I will just ask you to stop speaking because the time is up. So I try to be nice, but sometimes when people be gone, I just don't want to be like, hey, cuz. So just putting it out to you. And we're going to bring our panelists up here shortly. Just ahead of time, they're going to have 2.5 minutes to speak each time they would like to speak as well. Now, of course, they're featured the panelists, but this is not just people up here speaking to you all out here, and that's it. It's an open forum, live community discussion show for a reason, because we're seeking to get any and everybody involved, because we do care about what's going on. This is a sensitive subject, and we want to get to the source of really what's going on. And no one person can do it by themselves. We need each other. We all have unique perspectives, so feel free to speak many times you like. So, okay, so let's get into it. Once again, SourceTalk Saturday, town hall style meeting, live open forum community discussion show. I'm excited it's back. Give thanks. I see some people that came in the past. Give thanks to y'all coming out. Y'all know we all are. So, and for the people that's coming out for the first time. So we're going to bring about 3 panelists that we featured for this show. And we'll go one by one. Please give a warm welcome. First, I would like to bring up Ms. Candy Lowe. Now, this is real life, so on these events, I just like to be real and simple about how do I know these panelists. Ms. Candy Lowe, I don't know her personally that well. I've seen her presence online. I used to see her at Wide Awoke Wednesday, so I know she's a vet in the city. And obviously I see that she's behind the Black Business Bus Tour. And something that I personally think is positive, just to rally up your energy and efforts to collectively bring something like that together, and it helps enrich us in different aspects of spending money with each other and building relationships. I would like to say give thanks to that person. So the vibes I get from Candy are just positive, honestly. My brief interaction I had with her in person and just her online, it's just a good vibe. When I spoke about and I thought about her being, because I was trying to think about what would be the right type of people to be on this show for part 2 of the show. And I thought about, I would like to have majority women and also perhaps have a male. And I thought about a woman that's been in the city, that has some flair, and I can tell she had it her whole life. And I know she has a unique perspective on this, and it's like a real vibe. So I thought of her. I reached out to her. That was my first time ever reaching out to her in this capacity. And she asked me what was going on. We reasoned about it, and she was willing to participate. So give thanks, warm round of applause again. Okay, next I would like to bring up Miss Angie Lee. Round of applause, please. I don't know Angie as well also. This is a micro world with online relationships, so you know how it goes. But I do have some interactions with her coming out to events, and we both are also a part of the Black Vegans Movement Meetup group on meetup.com. So I know for some interactions and for me being around it was some good vibes. So when I thought of it as well, she actually, if I can bring up, speak about my interaction I saw during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. She disclosed an occurrence that happened to her far as being sexually assaulted in college, and she came out in the open with it. And I read it every word for word. And honestly, I thought it was real courageous. My first thing came in my mouth like, then that takes some real courage and guts just to come out, because I know how a lot of things we're dealing with shame on stuff like that. But just to see the reaction for so many different people, encouragement, and my interaction with her was just, first of all, acknowledging her courage to be bold, and then she came with an aspect of putting it out there to assist other women as well that may have faced the same situation or could possibly face it in the future. So when I reached out to her in the essence of what she spoke about, and she was all willing, all ears, and she fully agreed. Because, like I said, that's the vibe I got from her, wanting to help people that may have went through this before and preventing some of this in the past. And we reasoned about it. She was open and willing, so give thanks to Andy for your involvement. And the old cliche, last but not least, we'd like to welcome Brother Andre Polite. Likewise, this is my first actual conscious physical encounter with Andre Polite. I've seen him at different events around town, and as well as just these online relationships. It's a computer, it's a device, it's really not real. But people that have genuine spirits, sometimes you can pick up vibes just vibes that kick off of what they do, what they post, at least what they see. Present to people to see. So I did see his books. That was my first interest in the Star Seeds. When I saw the Star Seeds book about children, I was like, that's what's up, because I know something like that is like impactful just as far as like Black youth and the angle of coming to show that imagery to them in their head, how impactful that could be to build up confidence and work. So that's what made me get positive vibes from this brother right here. And I wanted one male to come on the panel because to highlight the predatory-prey relationship from both sides. And the vibe I got from Andre Polite was more of a genuine, real vibe as well, because it's a real discussion. And I know the only way we really are going to really talk about this, we have to be open and be willing to be honest, and just not try to just talk or sound cool or sound smart, but to really be open and honest. And that's the vibe I got from Andre Polite, more of an open, honest, real vibe. So once again, a round of applause for Andre Polite, please. Okay, so just to reiterate, we're streaming this on Facebook Live, so right back there, SourceTalk Saturday, town hall style meeting, open forum discussion, community discussion show. Shout out to my cameraman back there, Sebastian, so you can understand. Also, honestly, to be truthful, another willing spirit. This is my first time actually meeting Sebastian face to face, but he was willing to come out and contribute, so give thanks for that, Sebastian. Okay, so once again, crowd people, 90 seconds, that is the microphone right there. We just ask that you be courteous, be respectful. We want you to speak from your heart, but when it's time to stop speaking, we just ask you to stop speaking. You can get back in the line right after you come out of it. No, just 90 seconds at a time. For the panelists, for each one of y'all, 2.5 minutes. Now keep the timer as well. When you're speaking and you reach your time, I'll just let you know. So, all right. So we formulated some questions prior to the show, and we provided it to the panelists as well. Once again, for the people that are unfamiliar, the topic, young Black girls as the sexual prey of men. This is a real thing, this is a real issue, and let's get into it. So we're going to start out here with the first question to the panelists. In your own words, why do you feel that this issue of young Black girls being preyed upon by grown Black men in the hood is not being publicized at all? Once again, opening question. In your own words, why do you feel that this issue of young Black girls being preyed upon by grown Black men in the hood is not being publicized at all? being that, first, let me just scan the room. Do we think there's a predatory prey relationship amongst male and female? We do? So I ain't sounding crazy to say it. Yeah, okay, we do. So let's just get that established so we can come from these angles and know what it is. So, either one, feel free. Yes.
I was not going to use my yes. I think it's not being publicized. I'm 55 years old, so I have to put that out there. So my perspective and my wisdom might be a little, from experience. I've listened to relatives over the years hushing us up, um, hiding it behind the closet, and my uncle didn't do that. Stop saying that about my son. Um, we're not going to talk about that right now. So I think that in the hood, if in the hood means, I don't know if that means African American folk, but in the hood for me, that's what I have seen, that the neighbors are not talking about it. So if the neighbors are not talking about it, how are we going to publicize it? How are we going to get it in one of our newspapers if we are not
I definitely want to agree with what Ms. Kennedy said, because especially in our families, it starts in the elders. And to me, it really starts at the top. And when I say the top, we're talking about the sort of quote-unquote elites who run these societies that we live in. And we're talking about going deep back into like the Roman Catholic Church, where pedophilia is a serious problem. And then you have to look into, you have it in the political realm. So now you have people who are in government who are also pedophiles. You have people who are in Hollywood who are also pedophiles. So pedophilia runs deep in the quote-unquote elite who run the system that we're currently living in. And so us as a culture, us as a community, we have been affected by it since slavery. And so when you talk about master who was impregnated, women who was molesting little boys and little girls, it's something that has been passed down. And unfortunately, I know a lot of people whose family members have been molested, and now the child has become homosexual. There's a lot of black men, young men, who are getting molested by their older brothers, who are getting molested by their uncles, who are being molested by their fathers. And so it's a sick trend that we have that's going on here, and it's something that we do need to talk about, and we do need to pull the layers back, and we do need to hold people accountable from the top all the way down to our community, to our culture, et cetera.
Okay, give thanks. Okay, yes. Touch off that. That's a good point, Steve. Normalizing the behavior. That it does tie into that clip of the documentary because, like I said, the parents, they felt powerless. And if the allegations were true, what they were speaking about, of course, I wasn't there, so I can't say firsthand. I'm going off the documentary that I saw. You would think they would be able to do something about it, but they were just talking about like they couldn't do nothing about it. You know, like it just goes on. Everybody knows what goes on, and that's pretty much it. So I want to delve into. Oh, go ahead, Candy.
On that, I wanted to just mention, because I took some notes when the parents was talking, and the father said she fell in love with him. Wow. I thought, wow. She fell in love with him. And then he said, the father said, wish she would have told me. As a parent, our children don't tell us that. They don't tell us that. We can teach them about sex till the cows come home. But they're not going to come and say, Daddy, at 12, 14, 16. They don't do that. That he luring me. He is lusting for me. He has this emotional touching thing. They don't do that.
That's true. That's true. That's something that we just don't talk about and don't do. So
We don't bring that home to mom and dad. We just don't do that.
Yeah.
And sometime it's daddy. You know, sometime it's daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have a young girl that is lost to who do I tell when it's in the household.
Trina.
I think somebody said something about educating our kids. I believe it was one of the guests. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody said it started with education, and I firmly believe that, because when you make your children aware of sex, or anything for that matter, it makes them a lot more comfortable with having that open dialogue and that open conversation. Like, I got my sons here, they're 7 and 8, well, one just turned 9, and we talked about everything that you can think of when they was about 4 or 5 years old. So I don't have to talk about birds and the bees. They know where kids come from. They know what a vagina is. They know what a penis is. They know what drugs are. They know what pills are. They know what cocaine is. They know all of these things, because I'd rather them get that from me at home, so they know what the real deal is, so they know what the truth is, so they know what they're looking for and what they're standing and trying to stay away from in society. So when it comes to terms of sexual molestation and these things of that nature, if they know who and what they are and what their private parts are and what's off limits and what is not on limits to anybody else, I think it'll give them a little bit more confidence and courage to come and tell us the truth about what's going on.
Okay. Yes.
I was just about to speak on that. Our children aren't comfortable because we come from a culture where we're taught to be that authority means ruling over, means subjugating, means oppressing. So we oppress our children. Do as I say. Follow me. Don't, what did I say? We don't have those conversations. I'm not your little friend. When in actuality, you need to be their friend. That doesn't remove you from your guardianship, your facilitating how life goes, to say anything, you can come to me. We have to reevaluate how we parent in order for our children to be comfortable with us. We also have to know that sex was used violently against us. It was a violent thing. So it was violently used against us. Then we're given the Bible to tell us it's a shameful thing. And we're told for generations to be ashamed of our posteriors, be ashamed of our voluptuousness, be ashamed of our femininity as women. So therefore, then we don't have the conversations. We're not going to talk about sex because sex is a dirty, nasty thing to talk about, and babies just come out of trees or something. So those are the conversations. Like, personally, I remember not having a comfortable sexual conversation with my mother until I was 23 and pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, sex wasn't talked about, but then she was like, well, guess you know what's going on, so we can talk about it. And that's sad. But my daughter, we have these conversations. When she came into womanhood, it was it was nothing because she understood it. But yeah.
Yes, that's give thanks for that, and tie that in. That is key, because it's about education, like you said, and that is so true amongst among black people, like, you don't talk about no stuff like that usually at the house growing up. It just don't not talked about. It's like, you just gotta learn it out being in school or being in the streets. That's usually how it goes. So, yes, go ahead.
Bill Cosby or R. Kelly, perhaps. Even though I do believe that, Bill Cosby should have been charged for what he has done, but they villainize him versus, like, if it was somebody white, I forgot, who was it?
Harvey.
Yeah, like those people, like, they don't villainize them, I feel like do black men, but yeah.
Yes, because, and give thanks. I can see where you're coming from with that, because it's just a different walk. We walk with a different life, here. That just is what it is. And now, highlighting the predator-prey relationship, I want to get into this, because if it's about males preying on young black girls, that could be children, or that could just be girls that are legally young. It's an aspect of predator-prey. Now, I can speak from the male aspect, and talk about the predatory mind state. Like, as males growing up here, especially as black males, like boys, like I always said this, I said this plenty of times before, with reason, I grew up in a Snoop Dogg generation. So the motto was, we don't love them hoes. That's just what it was. So I remember the pressure, how it was just to be like amongst us, holding that mentality. If you're not holding that mentality, you might get fired on. Or you just ostracized, but you can't hang with nobody, you lame, you a square. Like, you have to be doing certain things as dudes to even be included. So it's a lot of peer pressure that's going on. And I didn't know this now, but now I know as older, I was like, a lot of dudes was lying, But we were just doing it just because you thought that's what you had to do. You had to carry this mentality. So we rallied up like females being the opposition, like it was a competition. So it was like a sport. We looked at it as a sport to play girls. You know, this is something that you just do. Like you said, it's normalized. Like somebody touched on normalized. It's no big thing. So this is the roots of developing like a predatory mind state. And I shared a story the other day. I was at Rum and Drums with some people. I was like, I remember being young, like in elementary school. And dudes like 6, 7 years old, first, second grade, pinning girls on the gate and hunching them on the gate. 6, 7 years old. When you think about stuff like this, you be like, where did they learn that? Like, who actually showed you how to attack, strategize, pin somebody? Like, and then really be going hard, banging them up. Like, who do you pick this stuff up from? Because most parents would say, I didn't show them that. Most relatives say, I didn't show them how to do that. So is it something in society that we picking up? Is it just certain vibes? Because for children to have a mind so young, you know, so young, not aware of certain things consciously, but know how to strategize and really look as the opposition to hurt. Like that just really trying to start to get to the core of the predatory mind state. So we grew up like a contest and a sport. And I mean, and I'm interested to hear from you as far as being the male in the panel, maybe that can't relate, because a lot of times I've expressed certain things like this to women and females in the past. It was like, it ain't that bad. And I was like, you don't even know the half. It's like professional scheming. It's devoted energy, because a lot of the times us as males, we are already feeling low about ourselves, so we're justifying our existence on sexual conquest of female, because this is the only way you get daps and get pulled. So it's uncovering the motivation behind the mind state of being a predator, to look at, especially amongst us as black people, somebody that's just your female counterpart and see them so far away from you, because that's the only way you can do certain things. You know, you just dehumanize them. They right next to you, but you can see them so far away from you mentally. What are the roots of these thoughts, this way of thinking that would cause little boys to start doing that, and then they grow up to grown men, and you can see why they're doing it. They've been doing this since nursery, kindergarten. So, you know, feel free to interject and talk about that. Y'all, I would like to hear first as far as the male aspect, you know, in regards to, because it's about the predator-prey relationship. And, you know, like I say, delving into the, first of all, do you agree that it's a male predatory mind state? If you do, if you don't, why not? And then delving into some of the core thoughts and behavior, what you feel is going on inside.
Right. I do agree. I totally agree. I grew up in the same era. For me, this could go on for a long time, just answering that one question when we go deeper into why Snoop Dogg, or, you know, why hip-hop was in the state of what it was when we were growing up, for even to have that type of lyrics be something that was so powerful, that controlled the minds of the masses. I personally saw it growing up. I seen, when I was in high school, there was, because unfortunately I ran in the streets with older men when I was a teenager, and I would see dudes who I was running with who were in their mid to late 20s who would be trying to holler at girls who was in my high school, or even girls who were in middle school. And it comes back to, where did they learn this? Where did they see this? So these are things that are going on generationally, especially when we talk about the neighborhoods and lower income. We talk about the hood, quote unquote, the projects, because it's a generational cycle. And they've seen their fathers do it, they've seen their uncles do it, they've seen their cousins do it, and it's just a repetitive cycle that's going on. And I think, for me, what I've learned to kind of reevaluate throughout my life of where I think that comes from is we have been desensitized to what value means. So we don't value ourselves because we don't even know how to value ourselves, because we didn't have anybody in our household to teach us about valuing ourselves. So if we don't value ourselves, we're not going to value anybody else. We're not going to value a woman. And then when you look at women as bitches and hoes, and we don't love these hoes, which was something that we were raised on through hip-hop, if we don't love them, we got a serious problem. Because first of all, we don't know how to love ourselves, because if you talking about bitches and hoes, you're talking about your mom, who you came from. And so we're not going to call our moms bitches and hoes, but we can call other people's daughters or aunts or sisters bitches and hoes, because of the mentality in the society that we live in, which is force-fed down our throat with the people who control the media and control the music, control all the things that we see on television and movies and music, etc. So it goes a lot deeper, but I totally agree with it, and that's kind of my take, not to take too much time.
Yeah, thanks. So, peeling off more of that, and we'll definitely leave it to Steve. Like I say, the predatory mind state, and I want to hear from actually after Steve from some women on what is your experience with a predatory mind state that you've dealt with, maybe some men in the past. But go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. As far as the predatory mind state, yeah, it's bad, but at the same time, it's again normalized. You don't realize that you're a predator because as a little boy, you are taught who you are and what your penis is, and that you're not one and the same, and you're not one and the same, and that which your penis does is not you. It's totally separate. You even give it a name, and refer it to something other than my name is Stephen Bell. That's not his name, and why am I calling his when I am the his? Exactly. That's something that was taught at a young age and that you have to overcome to become a man. But you thought that you were a man with that separation. Yes. That's the thing. This makes me a man. And until we separate the predator from the man, and we get it from both sides, from men and we get it from women. Mm-hmm. Ooh, look how he's going to get all the girls when you get... He ain't but 5 years old. Ain't gonna get all the girls. But then you got a problem when he do get all the girls. These are the pieces that we have to peel back to realize that we are contributing to the predator. Why do we have this mentality? And as a man now, and the things that it took to overcome to actually have a healthy relationship and see women in a healthy way, there's so much that had to be peeled back.
Good time, Steve. Yes. Yes, sir. Good things. Good things.
I just wanted to mention, I don't know
if you could speak more into the mic if you could, Candy,
I don't know if we notice when we're at some of the fast food restaurants, because I don't want to say exactly where it is, because you all will probably know where I'm talking about, where the older gentlemen sit for coffee, and when the young girls come through, they whistle at them, they look at their chunky booties, their taut breasts, and they grin with one another. They sit and grin with one another. I have watched that for years at this particular spot. And it has gotten so bad, it's not just at that spot anymore. It's at the other one, and it's at one of the other ones, and at another one. It's 4 different spots in this city that these old retired men sit and do this on a consistent basis. And no one says anything, including myself.
And that just highlight once again the normalizing of everything, and just because I would just say we have to look at it in the most realistic way we can. As dudes, we already kind of grow up thinking we got the upper hand. You know, I remember sharing a conversation. My sister was like, "All girls are stupid." That's what I used to say. I was like, because they just keep getting played. Like we just doing it to them, and they just letting it happen. They must be stupid. You know, because it's like I keep hearing the complaint stories, but I'm like, we just keep doing these games, and we young, we teenagers. You know what I'm saying? We laugh and we like it's a game. You know, I didn't realize till later on. I got older. A lot of times, women was in control of a lot of situations, just kind of making the dude do everything. That was what going on sometimes. you know, I thought I was controlling it. I was like, nah, you know. But at the time, I thought it was real, so this fed that mentality. Already looking as like, well, they're not adequate. They can't really do it because we're in a more of what they classify as more of a patriarch society. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically thinking from the male aspect as being a one-up. So you automatically looking at the woman, you're not going to value her. You're going to easily objectify her body. You don't even value, like you said, brother, you don't even really value yourself. So we growing up with a lot of confusion, and I feel that a lot of people know this. We can feel in the room, but why are we not? Let me turn this down just a little. Why are we not publicly bringing this up, especially as males to young boys, because knowing the experiences that I've seen and been around and know stuff that's dudes, and like we just letting it happen. And I feel personally as males, if we are to be set as the head, then we have a greater responsibility. If that is the case. If that is the case. You know, because we grew up with a more selfish, lustful society, over-sexualized society. It goes from, we was talking about young, like the little boy, like, he gonna get all the girls, the little girls in the circle. Get it, Ma, get it. She doo-doo browning. You know, like at the picnics, it's just all fun and games. And I know a lot of that has to do because we went through so much trauma and so much pain, we just want to kind of laugh stuff off. But it's serious and it keeps happening, and then when one happens to our family or somebody, we want to jump up then. You know what I'm saying? But it's happening to people in the neighborhood. And people knowing what's happening, and they're not saying nothing about it. You know, seeing dudes on the porch. I remember I went to King High School, dude pull up on them scents with them momos and that bowling ball. He picking up all the girls. I used to be like, man, why they down here picking up our girls? When I got older and I got those age, and I started to see them little girls coming to me like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, I see. It's easy. And dudes look for the easiest target. And I saw why some dudes will have restraints, but some dudes don't have it, because a lot of times as male, we don't know how to really handle our passion. Our passion is women, is female. It's a natural thing, but we're not taught to control that. We'll be over-lustful, we devalue it, and a lot of dudes will do a lot of things. There's a lot of males walk around that have done stuff to women that they would never say it in front of a woman. Never. Because if they know if they say it, it's over. You will never be looked at the same. And it don't happen. So dudes, even when the documentary came out, a lot of dudes was like this. I mean, for real, it was like the women talk, dudes just like, yeah, no. They ain't saying nothing. Why? Because they've done things like unto that, or very identically. You know, that's just what it goes, especially when it comes to, I keep stressing hood life, because it's a wilder life. You know, it's times where I remember we were younger, and a dude, we'll be somewhere across town, and my boy hit me like, hey, we got one, we just come through the house. We got one over at the house, just come over. Just come over. It don't even matter. You know, because if all you're doing is trying to catch one all the time. And that's what I mean about lust, and I want to lead into lust, being what role does that play in the predatory mind state? And in this particular question, in your own words, what is the definition of lust? And do you feel it plays any role in the predatory-prey relationship among males and females? If so, what role and how? Once again, that question, in your own words, what is the definition of lust? And do you feel it plays any role in the predator-prey relationship among males and females? If so, what role does it play and how?
For me, the definition of lust would be like a strong sexual desire. And I do think it plays a part in the predatory prey relationship, because it's an emotion that needs to be controlled, just like being angry or being sad. Like, you don't want to be stuck in that place, so you can be overly lustful. And I think for a predatory prey relationship, it's kind of easy for a man to use that, because I don't know, maybe some do know that they're doing wrong, but some maybe do have, pedophilia is a mental health issue, I think. So they don't see it as they're doing anything wrong. They think that, these young girls are easier targets, so they let their lust just run freely and go after all of these young girls, because it's easier to get them, especially if they're hot or they think they're grown, those types of things. They use that to their advantage and just kind of run with it.
And that's the key thing you said, knowing that and using it to advantage. That's malicious. That's the predatory aspect I'm talking about. Like you say, knowing that and using it to your advantage. It's already there, because your goal is sexual conquest. So, yeah. Okay.
So what we have to know is we live in a patriarchal society. When patriarchal rules, the balance is off. So those things that are checked by a feminine, masculine balance, when masculinity is too high, the things that don't get checked. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, when femininity was respected, the men had to chase women. women should not be chasing men. That is what throws this off, right? Women drive the force. Women make men build houses. Men wouldn't care about building houses if they didn't have to put a woman in it, you know. So we go back to these things where, okay, so what is lust? Lust is a strong passion or a desire. And we live in a society that tells us sex is recreational. It's not spiritual. It's not sacred. So we use it recreationally, just like any other thing, just like cocaine, just like fast food. We use it at leisure. We live in a society where pleasure is the answer to everything. And so that's how lust plays into it, in my opinion.
Yes, yes, give thanks. Lust, what it rolled
It's not about making excuses, like my brother said. It's about understanding the reasons.
That's time right now. Yeah, so understanding the reasons, that's what we got. So let's push the envelope a little further because it is about understanding the reason. Like, if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. So why are we not asking the right questions? We don't want the answer. We're afraid. We're afraid. We're ashamed. Why everybody just going through the motions of daily life every day, and not really trying to discover these answers out in the open with each other, but doing a lot of complaining amongst our own personal quarters. So what's the real reasons of why we're born into this world and it's just like this? We just come into it and just adapt to it and just carry it on. What's really going on? Like, what's really going this brother, and I'm gonna come to you.
So with it being R. Kelly, Harvey, Bill Cosby, all of those people, I wouldn't say I like that that's happening, but what is bringing to light is that we're very self-serving, because most of these people are gifted people in their own sense. And the reason why many of us are not speaking up is because we're so in love with their gift, we can't see what's really going on. We want to hear the song so much, we don't want to put the song away, so we're willing to risk our young girls being molested. We're willing to go to the church and hear the pastor and get that good message, realizing that our young girls are being molested by these people. So what we have to stop doing is allowing our own selfish desires get in the way of what we see out there. The politicians, the church leaders, the teachers, the entertainers, all of these different people are gifted in their own sense, but a lot of them are using their gift in the wrong way because they have that sense of power that they can do anything they want because no one speaks out against
again. So we waddle in it for years and years and years in a relationship, and it's very damaging for me.
Okay. Now, one of the big things I do agree, like you said, Erica, just getting real, being more real, highlighting this problem, young black girls' sexual prey to men. From the female aspect, from the woman, from the girl aspect, I would like to just hear some interjection on what do you feel that females are doing to contribute to this predatory prey relationship, if at all.
Nothing,
and why,
brother.
And why?
Not a thing. Not a thing. Someone said it earlier. Those babies at 12, no, those babies at 2, 4, 6, 16, 17 ain't goddamn hot. Period, sister. Thank you. They're not any of that. They're not fast. They're not any of that. Something turned that on.
And that's a good point. Something turned that on. Something turned that on. So it could be operating in a state of being on where the girl is not fully aware of what's really going on. Because what I mean by that is that, not saying it is, because I can only speak from a male aspect. I'm not a woman. I can never speak for a woman, never would try. I just know that in any relationship, there's two different experiences meeting at one to cause it. And what I mean by that is, like I said, going back to how we grow up. Very selfish, trained to be loose, trained to be lawless, lustful society, over-sexualized society, and it's manifesting out in women and men differently. It's one base. It's just manifesting out in different ways. It's the same thing at its core. A woman has her own set experiences, a male has his own set experiences, but the core of their behavior is stemming from one place because it's a relationship that's meeting in the middle. What is the nature of that? What is the nature of that?
From men, the nature
Oh,
For men, the nature is weakness because it is a
Okay.
predatory relationship. It's a predatory conquest, like it's been stated several times. So if you don't have the wherewithal within yourself to take on the challenge to courting a woman the way a woman should be courted, and earning the right to her body, earning the right to her temple, then you're weak. And so you can go and get it from a younger individual because they don't have the mental wherewithal to even know who and what they are. And I've seen this with several brothers that I know they are weak brothers because they are preying off teenagers. These brothers are in their mid to late 20s looking at high schools and middle schools, driving around trying to recruit young girls to dominate because they can't take on the challenge of courting a real woman. So it's weakness. We got a weak mindset. And if you have that weak mindset, you're going to find somebody weaker than you because you know you can dominate them.
Okay. Now, I just want to share a quick experience. I remember being younger and talking to a woman, and she actually told me out of her own mouth she wants that. She was like, but what if I want it? I want that. And I was like, so that's what I mean. You could be talking from a spot of being unaware of what you're exactly saying, but just accounting to the words that came out of her mouth. I want that.
But she
Is it a state of confusion?
She's a victim.
She's a victim?
She's a victim, and
Okay.
she has been victimized, and she feels like it's normal. She's complacent. She's comfortable with being a victim, and that's why she feels like that's what she wants because she probably doesn't know any better. She's probably never experienced any better.
Okay, so when you say a victim, are you talking about an occurrence, a particular occurrence? And so every time something is said like that, it's coming from an occurrence of a victim.
I feel like that. I couldn't speak on it because I'm not a woman, but ladies, would you
Tria,
agree that?
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. So what happens is, back to what Sister Candor was saying, she's not fast, she's not hot. What happens is, for all of us, male or female, and I understand we're talking about women, but predator prey is gender neutral.
That's true.
Black boys are preyed upon
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, and they're preyed upon by women, and women are preyed upon by women. That's the predator prey has
true.
not masculine and feminine in its gender. It's masculine and feminine in its energy, but that's different. What I think is important to know is that, for example, when you use the terms hot, fast, when he asks what women do to contribute to this, I've never heard those terms come out of a man's mouth. Those always come out of older women's mouths. So when he asks, what are women doing to it? I'm not gonna my brain didn't put that in the context of the victim themselves. But as a society, what are women's responsibilities to other women to protect women? Because at the end of the day, male or female, our job is to protect the children. So what are women doing to not protect younger women? And the thing of it is we don't heal. So when it comes up again, we just use the terms that were used on us, and if we've internalized our own sexual trauma as being our fault, then when it happens to our daughter, she must have did something wrong too, because I remember 20 years ago, I did something wrong. So she doesn't know how to address it when she comes up. And so that's what I think women contribute is we don't heal properly, none of us do.
And that's a very good point. That's a very good point, because you can be contributing to something whether you consciously are aware of it or not. And because you have not healed properly, you're going to be operating in malfunction anyway. So you're not even going to have, you don't even have clarity about what you're really doing. So you can be unconsciously committing atrocities to your own self and to your brother and sister, but you're unaware of it because of your mind state. And that's what I mean. So you can contribute to something not being consciously aware, because we've all grown up from children to adults. And there's some stuff we be like, well, I didn't even know what I was doing. You don't even have to, not the sex stuff, to anything. You would laugh sometimes, but like, I didn't even know what I was doing, man. I was just a child. You were doing it, but you didn't really consciously, were not fully aware. But when you get to a point as an adult, now you can analyze it critically and be like, now I know what I was doing. But at the time you trace back, there's been things I've done in my life, and I try to capture the essence of the feeling, what I was feeling at that time, to make me even think to do that. And I can't. I don't even know. I just kind of scratch my head like, I don't even know. So, and that's some of the things, what I mean about.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sitting back there, and I feel as though I'm not hearing accountability being addressed and maybe taken to task. Behaviors exist because they are tolerated. So I imagine with regards to, in context to the source of this predatory behavior, why are we continuing to tolerate this behavior? And what is being done to hold these people accountable?
Yes, very much agree. Self-accountability.
I just definitely had to speak again on the aspect of, who's at fault and so forth, especially with young girls. I've worked with young girls for many years, and I would say when it comes down to these older guys, no, it's not your fault. It's never been your fault. Anybody who's ever, I don't know, some of the guys here, I don't want to just put it out there that you did it, just played girls coming up through high school and middle school, and you played them. Now, you did it as a teenager. Now you're in your 20s. You've mastered playing young girls. Those young girls don't stand a chance against a grown man that has every bit of 10 years experience in playing girls, in playing high school and middle school girls. 10 years of experience, and they're just coming into their sexuality. They don't stand a chance. And we gotta truly understand that but when we look at the situation with these girls, that hot, fast, regardless, she could be a bookworm. She don't stand a chance with those predators.
Yeah, for real.
So I think one of the things that you mentioned about what are the women doing to contribute to this, us as adult women, we are contributing by not speaking up. We don't believe the girls. We don't want to jeopardize the relationship, so we ignore their complaints, ignore their body signals, as somebody just said, if the uncle comes in and the girl disappears all the time, or you said that, pick up on that. If you have a dog and the dog barks at somebody when they come to your house, you kind of think, something's up. If your daughter is disappearing, or, niece, whatever, they're not around, we as women have to be prepared to stand up. It may be your son. So you may have to be prepared to call the police on your son. But that's what we have to do. We contribute to it by not speaking up, and we keep pushing it under the rug. And as you said, they're not fast, they're not hot. But as moms, sisters, aunties, grandmothers, we have to be willing to speak up. So.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Just like she was saying,
You can
just
speak
picking
into the mic. Or just can't.
Just picking up on like body language. Recently, within the first year, I had 2 incidents with my nieces who were touched. I want to say a year prior to that, my niece would come over and she would sit next to me, and just picking up on her body language and how she just wanted to like kind of hug me, I noticed like I just had that energy feel, like I pick up on everything. So I'm like, something's not right and why she's laying next to me the way she is. And I so happened to say something, and I'm like, who's the boyfriend of the mom that's in the home? Like, who is he? I just don't feel, I feel something's going on. And sure enough, a year later, it all came out that he was molesting both of my nieces in the home. And with that being said, it's like I come from a huge family, and I'm the only one that fought for her and my other niece. And I'm the only one that still makes sure that I try to assess the issue, like what happened, how did it happen, to keep their mental health, up to par, to talk about it, and the last time they was here, they was like, yo, auntie, you the only one that I love. And I'm like, really? Because nobody else helped them. And that's where it goes down to the responsibility and taking accountability to like really, no matter if it's your child or not, but just really help these children. Because you can tell by body language, you can tell by behaviors, you can tell by a young woman wearing certain clothing, you can tell something is lacking there. And I think if we just pick up and address that.
Yes. One of the big things I want to come off of, I heard self-accountability. Each and every one of us has to be accountable. Because the door is open because there's a lack of discipline. So anytime that we honestly are upholding selfish values in any form of our life, we're contributing to it. Because we're spreading selfishness and vibe. It manifests out in lust and vanity. And these are some things that we're not educated on properly in school. The spirit of lust, the spirit of vanity, and what they are, what they represent. People don't even know how to speak about the nature of that. So when you see this going on, it's lustful and vain behaviors that we're all doing. And by way of that, we're all contributing to it. Because if we were to properly educate, I see, from younger on exactly what lust is and vanity, and instead of just leaving us wild to run and have more constructive activities to put your energy and focus in on, your mind won't have time to roam and wander. So I think we are underestimating the influence of vanity and lust. Growing up in a lustful, over-sexualized society is going to manifest out different ways in males and females. But at its core, we're being trained by the same lustful ways.
Is this really about lust and vanity, though? Or is it about control? Because rape isn't about sex. It's about control. I want to control you. Molestation is, I see something I want it, I take it. Has nothing to do with lust, has nothing to do with sex. That may be the vehicle that's used, but how many men has grabbed a woman's hand as she walks by them instead of using their words to say, excuse me, can I talk to you? I don't know any woman that has not been either raped, sexually assaulted, sexually harassed, inappropriately touched by a man. I don't know not even one. So this isn't about sex. This isn't about what we wear, what we don't wear. A man who is unregenerated, a man who has a weak mind, is going to always seek to conquer. He will always act as a predator. No matter what position, no matter what education, no matter what role he has, he's always going to act like that. So when we talk about accountability now, men, this starts with you. And we're talking about the men because that's where it's prevalent. That's where it's happening. Now, for women, what have we done? What are we not doing? Well, we're not speaking up. And of course, there is a culture and a system in place that does not punish the perpetrators. So we're taught that nothing's going to happen. So we hold on to it. Yeah, we're not healing. We're not getting the therapy. We're not getting the counseling. But that's it. And so all of this, none of this is happening in the school. We're hoping it'll happen in school. We're hoping it'll happen in mentoring organizations. But this starts in the home.
That's
Time.
Well, real quick, I want to touch on something you said. Interesting. You said it's about power.
It is.
Do you think people can lust for power?
People lust for power.
Because lust is not just really to sex. You can lust after food. You can lust after media.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, having the nature of understanding what exactly, because you can lust for power, and it's expressed and manifest out through a raping. So that's what I mean when I say about knowing the vibes where it stems from. Lust is something that runs, it's certain emotions that ingrain in human people, and certain things come out, the best and the worst. And we'll operate under these things, lusting for power, lusting for food, lusting for women, lusting for clothes, lusting for diamonds, lusting for money. It's still coming back to that selfish desire.
Here's what I would like to see when we leave here. I like to see when I enter a store, an establishment, anywhere, and a man holds the door for me, that when I walk through, he's not trying to grab my hand. And if there's any man in the vicinity, they're not allowing a man to disrespect me, touch me in any way. Because you know, I hear so much, we got to protect the women and black women and all of this stuff, but man, are you checking your friends? Or are you laughing? Are you ignoring their behavior? What exactly are you doing? I mean, you know, we women, we heal everyone. And so the reason why we haven't taken time to heal ourselves is because we're healing our sons. We're responsible for everyone's healing. Who's looking out for us? When there's a black man's issue, black women are on the front line. When there's a black woman's issue, well, what was she wearing? Was she twerking?
Well, good things. Steve.
A key piece of this is I'm hearing this word, man, men, men, but it's associated things with boys. All these are boys' behaviors. All these are, you are not a man if these are things that you're falling short.
The grades come on SB. The homework is given on the internet. You can't even function in these classrooms today without a device. They tell you to take out your phone and take a picture of the assignment. So we live in a society where, okay, now we have to adapt to that. But here's the thing. I don't know. I did Black Beach Week too when I was at Cookman, and it was a hot mess. And nobody knew to tell me, and it was truly an incident. But I had that conversation with my daughter. I had a conversation with my daughter. Listen, I went to Black Beach Week, and I almost got gang raped. Let's talk about that. So she knows these types of things. I'd rather her be scared of everything. You know what I'm saying? And then figure out that it's not so bad. But then I also bring the balance, and we talk about what's good, positive Black manhood, and then you put your children around that as the examples. If we're talking about what do we do to fix it, we have to return, like we said, to responsible community. I'm a firm believer in when I meet a family with a child around with a male son around my daughter's age, I'm getting to know their family. I absolutely. If he got his grades together, got his head on straight, I'm sorry, but yeah. So we just think about those things. We bring them together.
I agree. That what she said is a big role. What she started out with, she said, we don't raise the children.
But see, we got a lack of balance though, because like earlier when we had a full house and I asked how many people came up in a family with both parents, it was probably like maybe 10-15% of the crowd that had both parents. So when you have that void of the male figure being there, us as men, I didn't grow up with my father either. I didn't know how to be a man. I didn't know what a man was supposed to do. Thank God I had enough wherewithal in my mind not to be a predator, not to prey on weak, little girls and all that. But we don't have our fathers in our house. We don't know how to become a man, and we don't see what a real man is supposed to look like.
True.
So if we don't see that, we don't experience that, we don't have that coaching, we don't know what to do. So we just running out there aimlessly. So we letting music raise our kids. We letting movies raise our kids. Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, Juice. These are all things that we all first-handedly saw. We looking at these brothers like, okay, maybe that's how we're supposed to be a man, because we don't see a real one at home. And that's a major contributor to the problem that we're suffering from.
I agree. I fully agree.
Well, speaking on that and yours as well, just because you have a two-parent home doesn't mean that you're seeing a healthy relationship of what a husband and wife should look like. And I see a lot of times in two-parent homes, the dynamic is very toxic. So they start to take that out into their own relationships. And the thing with manhood as well, it's the definition of masculinity that is also contributing to our viewpoints of how we treat these young girls. A lot of times we say that boys should be boys. So we allow them to not have accountability at a young age and just expect them when they get to be an adult to do the right thing. But so long they've been ingrained to do what they want to do, however they want it to, and they have not faced any consequences. So we have to emphasize the choices that they make will elicit certain circumstances. And I think if we continue to just put the pressure on the young girls on being a certain way and don't give the boys any accountability, we'll still see the same thing.
Fully agree. I wanna come particularly to you, Angie. Like I said, being that you shared your experience, now one thing I noticed you said that the male, it was other women that came to you to say he did the same thing to them. Just a question to wonder, when thinking about this, how did you go into critically analyzing, really like you say, like you hearing about this like a predator, he running loose, but he doing that with people you know. Like you were like, what really makes, like you had personal, intimate contact where you knew this person. What really makes that you thought for him to even go around and do things like that? Like, as far as from your experience with him, and then hearing that other women came forth, it was like, he did that to me too. Just knowing him. Like, did you ever think about what motivated him to do what he do? I mean, just not to be like, to divert the blame off of you, just, have you ever just thought about the situation from the totality all the way around? And if you did, what did you come out with those thinking?
I personally don't know what happened to him or what made him do that. maybe he was molested when he was young or something like that. I'm not sure. But when I told my story, I did have several girls that I did not know message me or befriend me on Facebook and things like that and tell me that he did the same thing to them. And one girl, this was in middle school when it happened to her. So, yeah, I have no idea what, maybe he saw something, maybe something happened to him. I have no clue. But I do wish that I would have said something earlier, like maybe in school we could have had like a box that was anonymous and you drop a name in and girls could just come together and so we could know, because it's crazy. I feel like it could have been prevented. Like if I would have said something back then, maybe some of the other women that happened to, it wouldn't have happened to them. So I do think we need to expose these people, regardless if you think that people will believe you or not, because I had some friends that supported me and believed me, and other people were like, no, I know him, he get plenty of pussy, he ain't got to do that. So, you know, and it makes you want to be quiet about it. So, but I can't speak as to why.
I mean, of course, I would say you don't know because you're not him. What do you think? Just your opinion.
Like I said, maybe he was taken advantage of when he was younger or something, or maybe that's how he was brought up. One thing that I did want to touch on that Steve said about the boyish behavior, like this is a man or this is a boy, men don't act that way. I think that's kind of a disconnect. I think it's just how somebody is raised, because you mean to tell me that boys don't have self-control? Like you can train a dog, you can put a steak in front of a dog and have that dog sit there and they'll salivate and everything, but they will not eat that steak until you tell them to eat it. So you mean to tell me dogs have more control than boys?
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I'm just telling you how when they work with males, people don't really know. I've been around dudes. Some dudes they are gone. It's like I don't even they're warped. Their wine is warped. Like you'll be surprised. It goes back to a mental sickness. That's what I mean. It's levels to it, because it is a mental issue. It's a psychological thing. That's what I mean. It's deeper than what people think. It's some sick ass shit going on in people's minds, man. Especially when it comes to dudes to girls, like sick.
But even what Sister Tria was saying, it's more than just men and women, because men prey on men, women prey on women, et cetera, but it boils down more than anything else to a mental health issue. I mean, it starts off as something that probably happened, it was, that triggered it, but the ultimate result of it is a mental health issue, because I know for a fact of people who have been molested as a young child, maybe from 4th, 5th grade, that became homosexual based off of it, because they felt that was what they wanted now. Because of the trauma that they suffered throughout that experience, now they don't want to be with a woman anymore, they want to be with a man, because they felt like that felt better to them after it happened to them. And so now it does become a mental health issue, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think on a norm that when those things happen to girls or young women, that they try to analyze why he did it. I think we spend so much time trying to figure out this pain and the despair and the loneliness, and that's what I think. I don't think we spend time trying to figure out him or why he did it. I don't think so.
Okay, young woman, yes, go ahead.
I just have one question for you. So are you saying that homosexuality is a mental health issue?
No, I'm saying, well, from what I'm talking about is somebody that I know personally, and I'm saying that particular case was based off the trauma that they suffered from the experience of being molested. So I can't say that all homosexuality is a mental health. I could never say that, because I'm not a trained professional, in mental health world. But I'm saying off of this isolated incident, this particular young man became homosexual based off of the trauma and experience that he had. He did not no longer want to or desire a heterosexual relationship sexually.
Okay.
Here's the danger with going down the Y path. If I like jewelry, and I just go around and I just take your jewelry because I just love jewelry. I gotta have it. It's wrong. There's right, there's wrong. There's an age of accountability. Children cannot give consent, period. no matter what she's wearing, no matter how she's twerking, no matter how he's walking. Cannot give consent. You are an adult. If you have sex or inappropriately touch a child, you are wrong. I don't care why you do it. Mental health advocate, mental health educator right here. We're not talking about mental health. If a person has schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and they shoot up an entire school, right or wrong, do we care whether or not he was teased? Do we care whether or not he didn't get, Captain Crunch and he got Raisin Bran instead? No, this is a right and wrong issue. I don't care why a man is molesting, speaking to, or touching a child inappropriately. It is wrong, and there's got to be a clear line. We're not rationalizing what happened in your past. We're not even going back. You did it today. It's wrong. Everyone on this earth now knows that murder is wrong. We all know if you touch a child, it's wrong. I don't care why. And what needs to happen is we need to keep having these conversations, these forums, and when it comes time to vote, we need to ensure that we're voting for people who are aligned with our values, who are going to change laws, and make sure that they are going to penalize people who do this stuff.
I agree with what Natasha just said, but now the question that I pose is you have people who are bona fide pedophiles, and they feel in their mind that they are completely unequivocally right for feeling the desire to have sex with children.
That's true.
So is that not, I'm curious because you have more experience in that world than I do, so is that not considered to be a mental, like what type of issue would that be if it's not?
So Natasha says that we need to stop this foolishness. Right now, there's a movement to add bestiality and pedophilia to the DSM, the Diagnostical and Statistical Manual. That's sick.
Right.
We're not going to give names for behaviors that we know are wrong, period. If that's the case, well, I like jewelry, so let's just make up a condition for why Natasha takes people's jewelry. Is that what we're doing? It's kleptomania, right? But it's wrong. And so there's got to be a line, because here's the thing. If I excuse the behavior of a man, what is that saying to the woman? What is that saying to the child? We're saying that your pain, the trauma that you experience in that moment, is not as intense as the trauma he experienced in the past.
No.
That's not okay.
I agree with you, but the problem is that, like I said earlier, we have people in the government who are pedophiles. So they are literally trying to pass laws to make pedophilia legal. So what condition do they suffer from? Because they are clearly not quote-unquote normal if you think it's okay to have sex with a child to the point where you're trying to push it down society's throat to make a law that justifies your sick behavior. So what illness do they suffer from?
And this is why, I'm going to say it again, we have got to vote, period. I know people don't like to vote, they're not voting for me, but you have got to be involved in the process of electing people who reflect your values and who are going to ensure the safety of your people. Period. When I vote, if you're not vocal about mental health, you're not getting my vote, because I need to make sure that you're aligned with my vision, my goal, the direction of my life. If you've got to learn who these politicians are. How have they voted in the past? And if they're leaning toward being relaxed on pedophilia and rape, etc., then we got to vote about.
Well, see, I got an issue with that because, respectfully though.
I wanted to touch, go ahead, but I want to.
hook. But understand that the reason is a reason, and there needs to be accountability, but also healing. Because if we don't understand, it's like, no, you need to be accountable and you need to go to jail, go to whatever the consequence is, that needs to happen. And on a very consistent basis until, because that is the purpose of a so-called punishment, is because you have not matured to the point where you can actually do what is conducive to humanity without a punishment being held over your head. There's certain things that we're not going to do. I'm not going to kill you because I can get sent to prison. I'm not going to kill you because you're a human being. I'm a human being. That's not in my nature to do. So if I don't have that.
Okay, first of all, I lost the train of thought. We're going to have to get away from the stereotypical stuff, stereotyping that the reason why a predator did this was because it was done to them.
That goes back to not knowing what you are. If you ain't respecting yourself, you don't even know how to respect nothing outside of you. You don't even know what you are. You can't even comprehend it. If you ain't experience it on the inside, it's only theoretical. It's only in your head. Until you live it, that's when you know it. And if you don't know respect, you sure ain't gonna respect nothing outside of you. So, lack of respect. Why is this going on? Why is this behavior going on? We got to, just from the aspect of trying to understand what's going on so we can know how to attack these things, how to attack a lack of respect, how to attack selfishness, how to attack a lack of accountability. Because this is how getting to the source, and this is how you can reverse things. So, you says? That's very true. I agree fully. What we value is everything.
I think that emotional intellect was not ingrained in the culture at a young age, so there's a lot of integrity which leads to those types of behaviors.
Emotional intelligence wasn't ingrained at a young age. From
And integrity as well.
integrity.
And when you're without those, you have to lose those.
Three of the tenets of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy. And those are not in play.
I think that's stretched across society as a whole.
Yes. Good point. Good point. This stressed across society as a whole. So amongst us, it's just a microcosm. That's what I mean. It's a sickness brewing under the whole. That's what I mean by we were just born into this. Like we were just born into this. And like you just accept it, like Steve said earlier, it's normal. Hey, this is how the world is. If you're looking for some entertainment issues and system for us to keep your event going or to publicize yourself in a loud manner, I encourage you, inquire with Steve. He's not going to hit you over the head, and you're a good brother, and we all just trying to survive and live, you know, so, and he got stuff he can work, so give thanks, y'all, for everybody coming out, SourceTalk Saturday. 2 months from now, last week of August, the next one will be, I'll be announcing the subject soon, so, you know, give thanks.